Hello and welcome everybody. This is Unit 1, Lesson 3 for Civics and Government on Citizenship. For this particular lesson, we're going to begin looking at immigration and citizenship together as a contemporary American issue. Being an informed citizen means taking stances on some controversial issues. As you may or may not be aware, citizenship and immigration to the United States is a controversial issue, and it's going to be our first issue of importance here for this class. Since we spent a good deal of time talking about citizenship with rights and responsibilities in mind, I think it's only fitting that we now delve deeper into understanding more about what it takes to become a citizen, why it's such a controversial topic, referring to immigration of course, and some things that might justify people's stances in present-day times on this controversial issue. So let's go ahead and get started. Part 1 of this lesson entails you listening to the reading or reading it on your own and answering the key concept questions on the Google Doc. Part 2 is then allocated to the PowerPoint presentation on the history of immigration in the United States. In order to understand why an issue is such a problem, you have to understand the history of it. And then of course Part 3 is an interactive which you must complete by the deadline specified. So let's go ahead and get started. Citizenship, just the facts. Already a U.S. citizen? Citizenship means being a member of a country and having full rights and responsibilities under that country's law. Some people are born a United States citizen, and people who are born in the United States are automatically citizens at birth. So are people born outside the U.S. to parents who are both U.S. citizens? The rules can get a bit complicated for people born outside the U.S. who have only one citizen parent, but generally they are also citizens at birth. Becoming a U.S. citizen. So what if you weren't born in the United States and neither of your parents are U.S. citizens? You can still become a citizen through a process called naturalization. To qualify, applicants must be at least 18 years old and have been permanent residents of the United States for 5 years. There's one shortcut. People who serve in the U.S. military for at least 1 year can become citizens sooner because they have demonstrated their commitment to the United States. Applicants must also have good character, speak English, and pass a civics test and an interview. As a final step, they must take an oath of allegiance swearing loyalty to the United States and our Constitution. Allegiance. Citizens owe it. People who go through the naturalization process aren't the only ones who must be loyal to the United States. All U.S. citizens owe allegiance to our country. Treason is the act of betraying your country, and the U.S. Constitution makes this crime punishable by death. People who were born U.S. citizens may not think about allegiance as much as those preparing to take the oath, but you can probably remember a time when you said this word. Maybe, even this morning. Americans often say the Pledge of Allegiance to show loyalty to the United States flag and the nation it stands for. Love of country. Beyond owing allegiance to the United States, most U.S. citizens feel a deep bond with their country. We call this feeling patriotism. Many citizens get emotional when they hear the national anthem, which is called the Star-Spangled Banner, and every July 4th, Americans celebrate Independence Day, the day the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776, when the American colonies declared their independence from Great Britain. Other national holidays such as President's Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, honor the lives and sacrifices of important Americans. Memorial Day and Veterans Day are two national holidays honoring those who lost their lives or served in the U.S. military, and they can be very emotional days for many U.S. citizens too. Rights in the United States. The United States is known for the rights and freedoms given to those who live here. The first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution are called the Bill of Rights. They list important rights that are guaranteed to all people in the United States, not just citizens. These are rights like freedom of expression and freedom of worship, assemble peacefully, and petition the government, as well as the right to be free from unreasonable searches by government officials. But some rights are only for U.S. citizens. These include the right to vote in federal elections, the right to run for federal political office, and the right to serve on a jury. Responsibilities too. Along with all these freedoms come some responsibilities. Everyone in the United States is responsible for obeying laws. Citizens are responsible for voting in elections and serving on juries when asked. Yes, these are both rights and responsibilities. Male citizens between ages 18 and 26 must also register with the Selective Service System. In a time of national emergency, this agency is authorized to call up these citizens to serve in the armed forces. Last but not least, let's go ahead and look at the U.S. Citizenship Timeline. Not everyone was always considered a U.S. citizen. The guidelines, rules, and stipulations have changed throughout the past. Here's a brief crash course, if you will, that might explain better, through a timeline imagery, about the ways and means upon which citizenship has changed. In 1776, the stipulation was you must be a white male and own property to vote. In 1791, all white males may vote even if they don't own property. In 1795, free white persons, as it was stated, will become citizens after living in the U.S. for 5 years. In 1848, 80,000 Mexican residents of the Southwest are granted citizenship after the Mexican-American War. In 1857, in the Dred Scott v. Sanford decision, the United States Supreme Court rules that African Americans who were brought into this country as slaves could never be citizens. But in 1868, with the 14th Amendment, this was overruled, the Dred Scott-Sanford decision giving citizenship to African Americans. In 1870, laws changed to say that white persons and persons of African descent can be citizens, and the 15th Amendment gave African Americans the right to vote. In the year 1913, several states enacted the Allen Land Laws prohibiting non-citizens from owning property. In 1920, the 19th Amendment allows women to vote. In 1924, all Native Americans were granted citizenship. In the 1940s, all laws banning Asians from becoming citizens are overturned. In 1947, Native Americans are given the right to vote. In 1952, the U.S. Congress passes a law that citizenship cannot be denied because of race or gender. And in 1965, the Voting Rights Act gets rid of all barriers to voting, such as taxes and literacy tests. In 1971, the voting age is lowered from 21 to 18 by the 26th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. So as you can see here, citizenship and people's perception of who should be able to attain it and the rights and responsibilities that come with it hasn't always been a stable linear course. It's sometimes marked with moments of, retrogression and moving backwards rather than forwards. Regardless, U.S. citizenship and its access to it today still remains a controversial issue. The next part of the lesson will explain to you why exactly that's the case. So once again, just please make sure that you answer the key concept questions before moving on to the next part. Thank you.